What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian. Today we're going to go over the past weekend's games. Obviously, we're going to be going over the Michigan game, as you can see here on the screen. Um, so, start off, once again, I got the score prediction wrong, although it's hard to predict scores. I got the final result right. Michigan did win the game 24-22. Um, I would love a game where I'm watching Michigan and I'm enjoying the game and not having a mild heart attack every 10 seconds. That'd be absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, that did not happen this weekend. Um, if you watched my previous video, you can check that out. But I had been saying that Michigan needed to pass more, like that was something they needed to do. Well, they did. Unfortunately, there was a it was largely to one person, and there was a couple turnovers. So, did they win the game? Yes, they did. And 280 yards passing. They also had 216 yards rushing. That's great. But when it's so, I'm happy that I can't complain about the win. And yes, they passed the ball more, which is good. They had to prove that they could do that. But individual performances only get you so far. It has to be a team game. And it's good that individual performances are coming because the receivers haven't been doing so hot. As if you've been watching Michigan football at all, you notice that maybe their performances haven't been spectacular lately. So it's good to see Andrew Marsh standing out. Don McCulley is as reliable as ever. 459 is really good. Obviously, in 12 for 189 is amazing. That's great. I'm glad to see players stepping up when we need them. The problem is it's not consistent. So that needs to be the focus. Let's get some consistency with this. You know, um, I know that Jordan Marshall did get hurt, I believe, but he still had 145 yards, which is amazing. It's fantastic. Uh, Bryson Kudzall, serviceable. Not great, but serviceable, and that's fine. That's what you're asking from your third string at this point. You know, that's perfectly okay. Didn't average a ton, but he didn't need to. It was mostly, he did all right. So, um, Bryce Underwood had himself some runs, but he also had a couple sacks, and I think that is starting to become there was 3 sacks, so that's become a point of concern now. He is doing okay. Bryce Underwood is developing. He's, you know, so we can look at this games like this and the ones in Purdue as an example. We could choose to be frustrated with Michigan's ways, the lack of development in certain areas, or it could be like a bunch of freshmen, young dudes learning how to play as a team. And of course, you can do both, of course, as well. Like I can look at it and say, you know, all right, they're young freshmen developing. I'm gonna be frustrated, but at the same time, I have to have patience with them. And Sharon Moore is relatively new as a head coach. So I have to look at all those things together. If I can do that, then I can be a lot happier with the numbers I'm seeing. And I can be a little more graceful about, you know, 2 picks, no touchdowns, and a couple sacks. When the final result is a win, defense pulled through in a big way. And I mean, it's just, yeah, they didn't defensively. Michigan was fine. They gave up, I think, the one of the touchdowns, I believe, was a pick six. So take off, 7 points, and they only have 2 touchdowns in total. So I'm not particularly worried about defensive. They did fine. Did they have? Yeah, they didn't have any. Doesn't look like they have any picks. A bunch of solo tackles all around. I was kind of uh not as much productivity from the line itself as I might have liked to see given the past week's performances, but that does not mean that they did not perform. A lot of statistics are not, you don't see them on paper, they don't pop out on paper, but pressures, hurt, that kind of thing. That kind of stuff is stuff you may not see, but it counts in the moment. And like coverage sacks are, you know, while not considered sacks per se, I don't know how many sacks do we have? No sacks. Oh boy. Um, Covered sacks, whereas maybe the quarterback's forced to throw the ball away, that kind of thing. That's not necessarily things that pop out of the stat sheet, but those things are important in the bigger scheme of the game and at those moments. So a little grace of that, but I think Michigan defensively did fine. They didn't give up any mind-numbing plays. When you force a team to make spectacular plays, that is your defense working. That means they can't get the easy yards. If you force them to get the hard yards, you're doing right because a team likely will get yards in a game. There's a given. So I think Michigan did okay. Did fine defensively. Offensively, uh, those turnovers, 5 turnovers, and the missed field goals. What is going on there? That is something that needs to be addressed like now, because those are points you left on the field that we can't afford to leave those on the field. The turnovers, especially Samaj Morgan, fumbling was it punt or kickoff, one of the two. What is going on there? Why at this point don't even have him back there because it's just a liability. He's a small dude, and I respect him for all the leadership he brings to the team. And this is not a rip on him personally, but you need the best player doing their best, and I don't know that he is the best returner. So maybe they need to start looking at somebody else. But the turnovers in general, just I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's fumbles, interceptions, you name it, have to stop. Like you can't. It's so rare that you have 5 turnovers to still win a game. You're just not going to win many games like that, especially not against the latter half of the schedule, especially with the last game of the season. We all know who that is. So you're not going to get away with that against Ohio State. Not in a million years. You're going to turn the ball over 5 times and still come out on with a W. Just not going to happen. So that is something they need to focus on. So positives, they threw the ball a ton and they ran the ball a lot. They dual identities and it worked. They got a ton of yards. There were 496 yards in total, I believe. That's great. I'm happy about that. But the negatives, the missed field goals for points and the turnovers, have to clean that up. And credit to Northwestern for showing up. That was a scrappy team. A couple guys that had outstanding games. So let's not take anything away from Northwestern. Be fair to them for showing up. But yeah, let's Michigan has some cleaning up to do. And I'm happy that they got the win. That shows some grit and some toughness that hey, they're in a bad situation. They're able to get down the field and to Bryce Underwood's credit, oh boy, has some beautiful throws. So let's not take away from the things he did do good. Let's focus on some positives there. And Jordan Marshall was great. 140 odd rushing yards is nothing to sneeze at. So some positives, some negatives. Let's hope that Michigan comes back next weekend. I believe they're playing, what was it, Rutgers? Or am I losing my mind? Maryland, sorry. I stand corrected. They're playing Maryland next weekend. Getting old. What can I say? So hopefully they show up next week against Maryland and have a lot of those cleaned up. So if only the turnovers, missed field goals, not great, but turnovers need to go. All right, up to my weekly predictions and how wrong I was. Don't know who I said was going to win those, but let's start here. Troy Old Dominion. Yeah, I did say I believe those were on when that the day I made my predictions. I believe I said Oregon was going to beat Minnesota. And then I unfortunately got this one wrong. I thought Louisville was going to scrape by Clemson, but turns literally by 1 point. So I got that wrong, unfortunately. I think we all knew Ohio State was going to beat UCLA. There are some hills that just aren't meant to be climbed, and UCLA ran up on that one. Indiana showed up against Wisconsin. It was a solid win for them, and they continue to be strong at number 2 in the nation. So, and this was actually a pretty exciting weekend for football outside of the thrilling end of the Michigan game. Should have been that close, but it was. Um, Texas A&M, South Carolina, man, what a game. Uh, South Carolina fumbled that bag so hard. They absolutely should have won this game, not even a question. And Shane Beamer's seat has got to be scorching hot right now. He's he's in so I don't know how South Carolina, they're 3-7, I believe, or something to that effect. And you can't in the SEC, you can't be like that and still be a coach. Like they will put you on, they'll put you on a train out of town real quick if you keep losing like that, especially games that you absolutely should have won. Absolutely. I thought they were going to get boat raced. So good on them for showing up, but you had to, close out those games. So speaking of closing out games, Oklahoma beat Alabama. Really happy about that for not because I dislike Alabama, because shows as another that Oklahoma was a quality loss for Michigan. So Oklahoma played really well. Alabama, when you take away their passing game, they do tend to become one-dimensional, which is something Oklahoma exploited. So yeah, I mean, I feel like other people now have a roadmap how to beat Alabama at this point. So we'll see what happens going on. I think Alabama probably falls to 8 or ninth, more likely. Um, Texas Tech just blew the doors off of UCF. No surprise there. Georgia convincingly beat Texas, although for the first half I was like, "Huh, it's a lot closer than I thought it would be." Well, by that second half, just everything. Yeah, Georgia just went to just hit another gear and gone. And Texas could not keep up. So uh, that'll be interesting. Oh yeah, Notre Dame beat Pittsburgh. I was surprised. Pittsburgh's run defense was highly touted up to that point, and Notre Dame just kept on going. So hey, in a couple years ago, this is a game that would have been trap game for Notre Dame. But hey, more power to them for winning the games that some people might look as stumbling blocks for you. Florida, Ole Miss. Yeah, I believe I said that Ole Miss is going to win this, and while Florida did, respectable, but yeah, good win for Ole Miss there. Yeah, as I'm pretty sure I called it, BYU blew the doors off TCU, and rightfully so. That's it's a game you have to win, and they won. So Utah beating Baylor, putting up 55 points. Now, if I don't know, let's say Michigan or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Anybody in the top 25, I want to avoid Utah. That's a team that you never know when that light switch goes, and these guys are off to the races. So good on them. That's a great showing for them. Miami, Florida. Oh, yeah. Well, finally, Miami beats the team they're supposed to beat. Awesome. Doesn't make me look like like a weirdo. Georgia Tech scraping by Boston College. Whew, that was close. Like I was saying when the other video, I love me some Georgia Tech this year, and it can't do that. It can't give me heart attacks like that. It's almost as bad as this game right here. Michigan cardiac kids giving me heart attacks. USC scraping by Iowa. It was a good game, but USC the second half really showed the difference between the two programs. USA came out strong and pulled it out, and good for them. It was a good win. Iowa's nothing to sneeze at. So good win for them. Virginia and Duke. I had that as a trap game. I thought Duke might be able to win that, but Virginia played well. Good for them. Yeah, this game, Tennessee, New Mexico State. I mean, that's not much to be said there. I feel like that was pretty well. I upset South Florida. Navy upset South Florida. I thought South Florida was going to win this. So pie, kind of a pie in the face moment for me. I like South Florida. I thought they had a great start to the year, and things haven't quite worked out as well for them as I thought. I don't know that I called Arizona over Cincinnati, but it's nice to see, them winning. It's always not, having family there. It's always kind of nice. Kansas State over Oklahoma State. Yeah, everybody's beat Oklahoma State this year, so I'm not particularly surprised. A lot closer than I thought, though. To be fair, UConn beating Air Force. Respectable. They've turned things around for years. UConn was just bottom of the barrel. So nice to see them putting up good showings against respectable teams. Not great, but respectable. Hey, Michigan team beating Ball State. Nice. I feel like I probably said Ball State was going to win that, but I was wrong. UTSA beating Charlotte. Another team everybody's kind of been beaten up on, so not particularly surprising. Arkansas LSU. A 1 point win for LSU. Two very two teams that have very little identity, just slapping each other around until the game is done. So not much else to be said there. Arizona State, a lot of teams barely scraping by, and then some enormous differentials. Arizona State beat West Virginia. Arizona State, that's a tough. They're a tough team. They kind of had a disappointing year. I thought they were even better from the beginning of the year, but hey, a win's a win. Tulsa beating Oregon State, a good win for Tulsa. They've had some tough times lately, so good win for them. Tennessee Tech and Kentucky. So I'll use this game. I know I talked about this game, how Tennessee Tech was undefeated coming into this game at their division. This is the difference between divisions, and 42-10, right? Uh, and Kentucky's a struggling program in Division One, and they blew the doors off one of the top 5 team in whatever division Tennessee Tech's in. So that just tells you what level every division's at in terms of talent, skills, and all that. So that's saying something. And no shade to Tennessee Tech. I mean, hey, you came up, you dared to play the team. That's good for you. But that kind of a good example of how much distance there tends to be between divisions. So, but hey, like I said, respect to them for playing Kentucky. A good win for Kentucky. Still a solid team, all the same. North Texas beat UAB. Not surprised there. I'm surprised, almost surprised North Texas is getting ranking considerations. Marshall beating Georgia State. All right. Thunder and Herd, good for them. New Mexico beat Colorado State. Eh, good for them. They lost to Michigan, but so I see some Michigan opponents having winning records. Makes them look better at the end of the year. Missouri State beat UTEP. That's awesome. Good for those guys. Just coming up from Division 3 or whatever to no Division 2 to Division 1. Sorry, I don't know why I was thinking that. It's good for them. Nice. They've obviously earned it. Nevada, San Jose State. Nevada just laying it on them. Oof, 45-point difference. Yeah, that'll make some coaches have heart attacks and aneurysms and all the rest. South Alabama, but ULM. No surprise. Not particularly good teams, but Illinois beating Maryland. Now, this is if Michigan doesn't blow up Maryland next weekend, there's something else wrong because Maryland is bad. Illinois is not particularly great this year. They've underperformed, but they're still a decent team. And you can't even put up a touchdown against them. Yeah, Michigan better skull drag Maryland next weekend. Otherwise, you got some real problems. Um, James Madison, App State. Ooh, that's yeah. App State got taken to behind the woodshed on that one. Texas State, Southern Miss. I actually thought Southern Miss would win this one, believe it or not, but I was clearly wrong. Texas State, congratulations. Penn State and Michigan State, two just dumpster fires. That the one was a bigger dumpster fire. Just what a disaster. But hey, Penn State, they need to turn something around. A win is one of the best ways to start it if you're a football team. Start winning and things will start to turn around naturally. Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky, two teams that had some good years, but nope. Good for Western Kentucky. Tulane, Florida Atlantic. The Green Wave. You know, if I'm not, I feel like they could be better. I think they're not living up to potential. I mean, beating Florida Atlantic is good, but it's Florida Atlantic, so everything with a monster grain of salt there. But I feel like Tulane could be better. East Carolina beat Memphis. That's pretty much it for Memphis this season. I mean, they're going to get a bowl game, but I don't believe that there's any chance to make any kind of major run at this point. So they had a good start to the season, but that's over, I'm afraid. Wake Forest beating North Carolina. Yeah, North Carolina's just in a bag of misery right now, and that just not really surprising there. FIU beat Liberty. Bordeaux will be happy about that. FIU, turned their season around a little bit. It's kind of nice. Georgia Southern beating Coastal Carolina. Fairly high scoring game. Looks pretty exciting. Oh, Sam Houston beat Delaware. I believe I said Delaware. I was hoping Delaware would win that, but I was wrong. I hope none of you are taking like parlays on anything I say. What an awful idea. uh, Utah State, UNLV. Wow, I'm surprised UNLV won that. Utah State. I thought Utah State was going to win. Oh, yeah. Washington beating the brakes off of Purdue. That's what Michigan should have done. Don't know why Purdue decided to not show up against Washington. Oh. Uh, Florida State, Virginia Tech, surprising difference. I thought Virginia Tech was going to win that, if I'm being real. Uh, Literally just read this news about an hour or so ago. James Franklin is in line, at least supposedly, to become the head coach of Virginia Tech. So, kind of something to keep an eye on if that's kind of your thing. Wondering what happened to him. Looks like he might be the new Hokies coach. So, enter Sandman with James Franklin. Mississippi State, Missouri. Missouri absolutely deserved to win that. That team, they had a brutal schedule and they're coming out of it now, and good for them. Getting a win there. Kind of sucks. I was hoping Kennesaw State would be Jacksonville State, but can't win them all. Good luck to Kennesaw State. I know they at least they're bowl eligible, so good for them. Washington State beating Louisiana Tech. Good for Washington State. They had a couple close games on this year against genuinely superior opponents. And I believe they should be. If they aren't bowl eligible, they should be now. So good for them. Fresno State being Wyoming, kind of surprised. Thought Wyoming was going to win that. Yeah, San Diego State and Boise State. What is going on there? What, Boise? What are you doing? You're so much better than that. So, well, clearly not, but I'd like to think you are. So, all right, those are kind of my takes for the week. Um, I believe there's actually somebody's playing right now. It's Monday night, so there's gonna be some Monday Night Football. I believe it's the Raiders and Cowboys. So if hope if you have fun watching that. But yeah, that's kind of my rundown on what my predictions were. And if I didn't predict Northern Indiana to beat Massachusetts, I was crazy because awful, like historically bad team. Anyways, thanks for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. And I will have more on Michigan's upcoming game against Maryland this weekend. I'll kind of do a rundown on that. And thanks for everything. I hope you all had a great weekend. I hope you have a great weekend. No Thanksgiving's coming up. Everybody's got some plans, so hopefully you're able to go with that. And yeah, thanks for watching. Leave a comment, like, and all that other good business. Take care. Peace.